it's Marina, Travel Experta. Today, we're going to be talking about Oaxaca, Mexico. Are you guys ready for an adventure? Let's begin. Oaxaca is, interestingly enough, known as the culinary hub of Mexico. Now, for you to understand how big of a deal that is, Mexico is enormous. And every place that we have visited in Mexico so far, and I have a bunch of different podcasts all about Mexico, the fact that Oaxaca is the main hub, it's a really cool thing. So you go to Oaxaca, as far as I'm, have realized, obviously for the touristic reasons, the Zocalo, walking around, it's beautiful. But you mainly also go for their food, their mole, which is a part of their food culture, very strong roots, and their mezcal, because you are literally in the heart of the mezcal making region, and their chocolate. Make sure you go and listen to all of my podcasts about chocolate, mezcal, moles, and markets. That is the big thing of Oaxaca. So I have a whole episode just on the markets, understanding, visiting the markets, the type of foods and stuff that you could have in the markets, because it's the local foods that you really want to try. I'm not really going to be talking that much about restaurants, because you go to Oaxaca to eat their local food in their comedores, which is where the majority of the locals eat, especially in the markets, and their cocinas económicas, which is, economic kitchens, which are all over the place, pretty much like comedores, but you want to really get the flavor of Oaxaca. So those are the main things that you want to go and really visit. So I have episodes for each of those a little bit deeper, so that you really get the full feel of what each one represents, because they are all really important part of the Oaxacan region, the state, and their culture. Oaxaca city itself it's interesting because we stayed there for 9 days. The main reason we went there is obviously to visit Oaxaca, but also because Oaxaca has really great rock climbing. And I have an entire episode about rock climbing in Oaxaca, so make sure you go and check and listen to that, especially if you are going for rock climbing in Oaxaca, which is unbelievable, by the way. So we came for 9 days. Like, our new thing is to really stay in a place and really get to know the place, do some tours, and for my family to go climbing as well. And it's funny because we arrived to Oaxaca right after San Cristobal de las Casas, which we absolutely fell in love with in Chiapas. Make sure to go and listen to that episode as well. And when we first arrived, we're like, oh my God, Oaxaca is chaotic and this and that, because it's a lot bigger on every scale. But there's something about Oaxaca that really grows on you. First of all, it is so colorful. It has beautiful street art. It has all these beautiful parks and artisan markets and outdoor markets and food markets and churches and plazas and tons of pedestrian streets where they have all these restaurants and bars and mezcal everywhere, mezcalerias, I guess that you could call them, and the Zocalo. The Zocalo is pretty much the central park, and it is humongous, and there's always things going on, and music and people and restaurants. So Oaxaca itself has just so much to offer that you have to go. At least I personally at this point recommend spending at least 5 days to over a week in Oaxaca, simply because Oaxaca itself has so much to do. Just visiting the markets will take, and walking around and visiting the churches and all of that, and the central parks and the little parks and the local areas will at least take you 2 to 3 days, right, to really feel it and enjoy it. And then you definitely need to go and do a mezcal tour. Even if you don't drink, we personally don't drink. We don't even like mezcal, but it's such a part of their culture, and it's such an interesting experience, right? And you could take your kids. We took our 12-year-old, and even it really enjoyed it, because mezcal, the agave plant, or the margay as they call it, that whole landscape, it's a really interesting experience. And then also, I recommend, if you have time, to go to Hierba el Agua, which is an entire day tour. Again, I have an entire podcast all about Hierba el Agua, which is really cool because it's petrified waterfalls. So you want to give yourself time for that as well. We also rented bikes. Oaxaca, interestingly enough, is an incredible bike town. Again, I have a podcast all about biking in Oaxaca and doing a mini bike trip to El Tule, which is the widest tree in the world, but the village will completely astound you because it's just adorable. It's called Pueblo Mágico, which literally means magic village. So make sure to go and listen to that podcast as well. So as you could see, there is so much to do, not only in Oaxaca itself, but around Oaxaca. So honestly, I would really recommend spending at least 7 days there, or give yourself about a week in the Oaxaca area because there's just so much to do. It's such a cool city and it's vibrant and it just really grows on you. And what's interesting is that we felt really safe. It just feels like a really safe town. And we actually stayed in an area by the university, which is about 20-minute walk from the center of Oaxaca. And we did that walk all the time, day, night. It just felt safe and good. And if you do want to take a taxi, the taxi was like less than $5 to get to our place. So all those little things really make a difference. And there's all these outdoor food stands and you want to really enjoy the food and the drinks and just get into Oaxaca city itself. So again, I cannot recommend going there enough. It is an incredible place. And you might even be adventurous enough and try their crickets, which is one of their also very important cuisines and probably one of their star dishes. I personally am not that adventurous, but hey, you can try it. They are sold everywhere, and definitely go for the mole and even just try the mezcal, even if you don't drink or don't like it. We did, and it was that much more fun. And if you guys have been to Oaxaca, I'd love to hear about your adventures in Oaxaca and your feedback. If you enjoyed this podcast, leave me a review, share it with your friends, and remember to make every day an adventure.